are not going to find him guilty of anything today. Now, if they do come back with unanimous, that would be crazy. That so gangsters came out like we saying not guilty on none of them. We got a verdict. Ooh, it will be heated. I think that'd be the funniest shit of the year.
Host Sierra Gillespie bringing you Law and Crime's live coverage of the P. Diddy trial. You guys, we are in the final countdown. We could have a verdict as early as today. That's right, we're already in deliberations. And by the way, thank you everyone who's been watching our live stream so far. I know we have people from all over the world. You guys have been following all day, so you of course know that there recently was a question from jurors. We're not even quite 2 hours into deliberations and they already had a question. So Jesse Weber kind of left you on a cliffhanger, and I'm going to tell you what it's all about. Here's an update from the courthouse right behind me, because by the way, I'm live in the Southern District of New York. So here's what happened. Now, the judge says we have received a note from the jury that we have a juror, specifically juror 25, who we believe cannot follow your instructions. I would like to meet with the court about it. So the judge says, I suggest asking for more information. So that's kind of crazy, you guys. I mean, this morning we reported about jury instructions, right? This is so important going into deliberations almost 2 hours in, and it sounds like one of these jurors, juror number 25, says they might not be able to follow the instructions, which is the most important thing we have here. Whew, I got a lot of questions, and I want to break down the jury too. So let's do that quick before we get to our all-star panel of guests, who, by the way, I'm going to have a lot of good questions for them. And if you guys have questions, throw them into our chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. So here's the breakdown of the jury as of right now, okay? This could be changing. Who's to say? I'm not going to report anything we don't know yet. But here's what we've got. So a male, an investment analyst. He's 31 years old, okay? So am I. So right around my age, my contemporary. And that's what it's supposed to be, right? A jury of P. Diddy's peers, okay? Another male, he is a scientist, age 51. So already we've got a pretty educated jury. On to another member, a male social worker, age 39. Another male architect, 57. I believe we've talked about him specifically, the architect, the newer juror who replaced juror number 6, because of course we all remember when that debacle happened. Another man, we've got a male-heavy jury here. He is a field technician, age 68. Another man, logistics analyst, age 67. So I guess that kind of shows the range in the age of these jurors too. Another male, he's now retired though, age 68, formerly in finance. Then on to the female side of the jury, okay? This one is 30 years old. She's a deli clerk. Another female, dietary aide, age 42, okay? The next female, a treatment coordinator, age 74, which again shows the diversity we have here, especially in the ages of these jurors. 43 years old is the next juror, a female. She's a physician's assistant. And then the final one rounds us out, age 69, massage therapist. So you can just kind of see there the diversity that we have here in the jury. And by the way, I do have more updates about that note. I promise we will get to our panel in a minute. But here's what we have live from the courthouse behind me. This is AUSA Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor for the government. She says, may we have a moment to digest what your honor has proposed. This is very sensitive. Then Mark Agnifilo for the defense, he replies and says, I suggest we just tell them it is early. You are just getting started. If there is a further issue, please let us know. Comey then replies and says, if we go that route, we suggest instructing the jurors it is important not to include any information about what is going on in the jury room. We are looking at U.S. versus Baker 262. So she's talking about a very specific citing something that has to do with all of this. Whoa, this is pretty heavy, you guys. Not to quote Marty McFly or Doc Brown here, but this is getting heavy. And I got to bring in our all-star panel of guests to break it all down with me, okay? So we have criminal defense attorney Mauricio Padilla, who's been a favorite on our live stream. And then, of course, criminal defense attorney Brian McMonigal. Thank you so much, both of you, for sticking with us. And Brian, I've got to ask you right away, what are you making of this jury note or question?
It's stunning this early for there to be a note of that nature. It's stunning. They just began deliberating. And the indication is, at least from the foreman, that one of the jurors has just basically said, I'm not cooperating. We've had situations like that here in Philadelphia, and jurors have been replaced. for that very reason, where they've been unwilling to deliberate with their fellow jurors, where they're unwilling to listen to instructions. I know we're getting a little bit down the road on this, but if in fact that is the case and the judge becomes concerned, he has the ability to bring the jury in one by one and voir dire each and every one of them about what this juror has done, and the juror themselves to ask questions about it. We're not there yet. It looks like both sides don't want to get to that point, but that's how this ends. Problem continues, which with voir dire and the possibility, not the probability, but the possibility that a juror could be replaced with an alternate. So this is stunning for me.
I think stunning is a great word for it. It's not something that we've expected. I mean, you guys, you viewers can look at the clock that we have here. We're not even at 2 hours yet into deliberations and already something so stark such as this. I do have another small update right now. The judge on a response. I'll stay here. So kind of, you two discuss. Mauricio, I've got to ask you, what does this mean? What are your thoughts?
They're fighting early on. They're not even fighting about the decision. They're fighting about how they're going to come up to the decision. So I think that when you read into the question, I think what the question's highlighting is a power play that's going on. So one person is not getting along with another person. Maybe the fourth person has a problem with another person, and now he's saying, you're not following the rules given to us by the court. But when I hear that question, for me it highlights that there's personality issues at play, and that they're fighting. So let's see what happens. But shocking that it's happening so quickly. And imagine it's not. It would foreshadow that this is going to be a long, drawn-out deliberation, that they've come up with that question only 2 hours in.
And I mean, the jury is so important, right? They're so paramount into all of this. And as you were talking, Mauricio, I was thinking the same thing. Like, if they're already arguing about all of this, we're looking at a long deliberation time, which, by the way, I am hosting live from the field, so I don't have a projection of like what we're seeing. So I do want to say that our note, I think I said we weren't quite at 2 hours yet. It looks like we're at 2 hours and 2 minutes, at least in the last minute, as far as the jury clock, or the deliberation clock, rather. It's being kind of funky, but that's kind of where we're at. So 2 hours, either way, pretty early. Now, I got to get to some of our viewer questions that we have for you guys, because a lot of you have provided us with some really stellar questions. So I'm going to start with this one for you, Brian. This is A Fly Guy says, a question for the panel. Is the jury in a federal trial exposed to the gallery where those people could see them, or are they somewhat secluded? And I believe I have a general answer to this. I haven't been inside the courtroom, but we do have our reporter Elizabeth Milner, who's been in, talked to us about how the jurors are responding to things specifically like those freak-off videos, were they hiding their faces? What were they doing? So what is your answer to this, Brian? Can they see the gallery and kind of interact in a way?
Well, in every trial I've ever had, the jury can see the gallery. They can see the entire courtroom, and the entire courtroom can see them. I know that there are issues in this case where they have kind of blocked off things for one reason or another, but the simple answer is yes, they're supposed to be able to see the gallery. It is a public courtroom, and it should be open, and it should be, a situation where everybody can see everybody.
And I mean, that is the beauty of America. These are public courthouses. So if you are watching right now and you want to come see the Diddy trial, I mean, they are in deliberation, so they're a bit more secluded then, but you're allowed to just come down to this courthouse here in southern Manhattan, walk in and go. I mean, that's really all you need. Now, for a case like P. Diddy, obviously there's a bigger list. There's media credentials and things that go into it, but that's really what it is. And it's only kind of different in the federal system that we don't get cameras because it is federal. In some states, we can live stream the court. I mean, I know a lot of you long crime viewers have seen all of that. So it is interesting. Now, on to another question that we have from one of our viewers, Navy Mom FL, I'm guessing Florida, 7294. This one's going for you, Mauricio, because I know you have a history with Florida, so maybe this question doesn't have anything to do with Florida, but hey, I'm connecting you two. Now, she says, Law and Crime Network, what are the odds jury tampering occurred? And did Diddy somehow pay off a juror? Sounds like a movie, but movies are based on reality. I mean, anything's possible in this case, Mauricio. What do you think about jury tampering?
Well, listen, anything's possible, but I think it's a stretch to read that into the note that was just published from the jury. They're just saying that there's a juror that that refuses to abide by the rules given to them by the court, it's a little bit of a stretch to now imply that P. Diddy bought a juror. But I mean, the way that he's conducting himself, not only historically, but ever since his incarceration, it wouldn't be something that I don't think anybody would be shocked at. Because he seems to be such a controlling individual. He seems to be the type of guy that thinks that he can control anything, including a federal trial, including jurors. So I wouldn't be shocked if something like that comes out eventually, especially since I remember in this case they had him on the jail phone talking to people and trying to influence certain people. I know that he tried social media to try and influence certain chunks of the population with his social media presence. So I wouldn't be shocked, but it is a stretch to read that into the note that was suspended.
Now, I do have a real-time update for all of you. Thank you, by the way, to our producers who are working tirelessly on this live stream to bring you the updates. Juliana, Jordan, Alex, Nick, so many people are going into making this possible. So keep sending us questions and shout-outs for those people. I love to say it. Okay, so here's an update that we have about juror number 25, right? The juror in question who says they may not be able to follow the directions, the jury instructions. So here's what we know. According to NBC, I do want to cite that, juror number 25, a 51-year-old male from Manhattan who has a PhD in molecular biology and neuroscience, so got the credentials there. He listens to classical music and opera, and his hobbies include art, science, cooking, and the outdoors. Okay, so now that we know a bit more about that juror, Ryan, does it make any more sense why this person would have any sort of problem following these instructions? He's clearly an educated person who should be able to follow them. Do you think it's more of a moral or ethical issue?
It makes absolutely no sense to me based on the individual that you've just described, if in fact that is the individual who, according to the foreman, is creating the problem. But, people are, Mauricio will tell you, everybody's different. Everybody reacts to things differently. Everybody's got their own personalities. There may be significant personality conflicts. You may have the foreperson being of one personality, the individual in question of another, and they're just colliding. And you see that a lot with juries. You just don't see that kind of question this quickly. Usually you get that kind of a question 2 days after deliberations where everybody's been banging their heads and they can't have a meeting of the minds and somebody goes and sits in a corner. You never have it 2 hours in. So there's a significant issue here where somebody has angered somebody else or basically decided that they're just not going to communicate in some fashion, which is a real danger for the prosecution.
It sounds like things are fiery. I mean, I'm here in Manhattan. I have my fan. This is my third fan. I have 2 more here. So things are hot outside, and it sounds like things are hot inside too. I mean, it's this soon. What you're saying, Brian, this soon we have somebody who's stirring the pot in this way. I mean, I don't know, things are fiery. And again, I did describe juror number 25. I talked about, his history, all of that. That is from NBC. I do want to cite that and report that because we're still early on in as far as our reporting about this specific juror. So I gotta make sure to cite them and all of that. Now, we do have another person who wrote in asking about this question, and I guess this just goes to show we've been live streaming all day. We keep bringing you guys the updates. It's a bit out of date now, but I do still want to shout her out. Her name is Emily Atelier, I believe. She says, hey, what could this potential note from the jury be, which we, of course, now do know? What would be the question you would want to know this soon in deliberation? And I just had to shout her out. We, of course, now know what it is, so we'll discuss that. But she said, love the show. Thank you for your amazing coverage on this trial. So thank you so much, Emily, for watching. And any of you who have questions, again, keep dropping them down. Now, here's another viewer question we have. Can you ask the panel about their experience on working with jury consultants? Have either of you worked with the brilliant Linda Moreno, who's Diddy's jury consultant, before? Mauricio, I'm going to toss that one to you. What do you make of jury consultants, which obviously are very important considering the jury is very important?
But I have worked with various jury consultants. I think they're important. If you have to get the right fit for the right case, and nowadays there's consultants that really use social media, and while you're doing voir dire and you have your co-counsel, there's consultants that are right there on the spot researching to give you a better idea of who the juror is when taking into consideration their social media profile and their, whatever, digital footprint they've left out there. So you have an idea of politically where they stand. So nowadays, consultants that actually use that type of technology can really assist you like never before. So this is a whole new time for trial attorneys to take advantage of the fact that people's lives, their opinions, their mindset, all of it is public information many times that you could find and you can use to your advantage. And at the end of the day, picking a jury is the most stressful part of a trial. Why? Because trial attorneys know that you make a mistake there, you're going to lose. So regardless of what you did during the trial, if you made a mistake and you got that wrong juror on the jury, all of it was for nothing, the 8, 9, 10 weeks. And I've seen it play out in front of my face to my detriment and to my favor. So I've been around long enough to see it, work in both ways.
I mean, the stakes here are really high. The jury is of the utmost importance in all of this. And like I said, Diddy faces life in prison. That's why this is so important for the jury and this jury issue for it to get solved, which, by the way, we're going to stay on, hopefully, until we have some sort of resolution in all of this. So don't go away, you guys. We're going to take a quick break right now.
And this evidence. If a reasonable person is presented with these charges and this evidence, would they have a reasonable doubt as to the conviction that you have entered into? Would a reasonable person have a doubt about Sean Combs's innocence? And if a reasonable person would have a doubt about Sean Combs's innocence, you cannot convict. It is a high burden, Art. And in my opinion, I do not believe the prosecution. I do not believe that the United Snakes of America have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs engaged in a pattern of RICO. I don't think they proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he participated in interstate sex trafficking. And I don't think they have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs have engaged in interstate prostitution. I believe they relied too heavily on freak-off details, freak-off footage, and freak-off testimony. Art, he's not on trial for having freak-offs.
See, that was saying, when somebody had brought up, was saying about the bedroom policing. Yes, he had a weird sex life, but it's perfectly legal. Yeah, he might have did illegal drugs. I mean, a lot of Americans do, believe it or not. They're acting like this is some one of them. But he's not being charged with possession of drugs. So I see a lot of people in the comments saying, well, what about the kids that was involved? Like, okay, now y'all going to, now y'all reaching. It's one thing y'all can say whatever y'all want about say Diddy, but come on, now you trying to put kids on him now? Like, y'all wilding, though.
Sean Combs was on trial and being accused of interstate trafficking of people for sex against their will, forced labor, forced sexual labor. That wasn't proven. Interstate prostitution, they might have did a better job with that than the sex trafficking, Art. But I still don't believe they proved it beyond a reasonable doubt. And the RICO? No way. Look at the RICO case, Art. It basically hung on the testimony of two people, Kid Cudi and the young lady, and no disrespect to either of them. And the RICO basically dealt with the fact that Puff allegedly forced this woman by gunpoint to take him to Kid Cudi's home, and he had made plans to blow up Kid Cudi's home and firebomb his car. The problem, Art, whether that happened or not, you're still only dealing with one person, and the situation sounds very personal. It doesn't sound like it's related to Bad Boy Records. This sounds like it's a personal vendetta between Puff and Kid Cudi. Even if it was related to Bad Boy Records, it's only one person. Where are the other victims of the RICO? Where are the other criminal behaviors that support the RICO charge? For RICO, to my understanding, I'm not an attorney, you got to show a pattern of using your organization to engage in criminal behavior. One or two incidents with Kid Cudi, that does not establish RICO for Bad Boy Records. One alleged attempted arson or two alleged attempted arsons, that doesn't establish a pattern of Bad Boy being used in a racketeering influenced criminal organization way. And that's why, Art, I believe the prosecution slid the judge a letter yesterday or today and told the judge that they will not be including the attempted kidnappings and the attempted arson as part of their RICO case. To me, that's a victory for Puff, because it says we know that this is too weak. The jury is not going to convict on this evidence. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this is likely to have happened. They're not going to convict on that. So they told the judge, we're not even going to use that. They are going to rely heavily, Art, on that sex trafficking and that prostitution. I think they know they don't get the RICO. I would be shocked if they get the RICO. They're hanging on sex trafficking. They're hanging on prostitution. And as I've said earlier, I don't think they have much of a case there either. All this case proved, Art, over these 28 days, over these 7 weeks, this case proved that Puffy has some very serious psychosexual issues.
Yup.
This case proved that he might be a nymphomaniac.
Homosexual.
This case proves that he may have some unaddressed childhood emotional issues that he's taken out on these women and these sex incidents, these freak-offs. It proves that he engages in risky behavior. It proves he got a lot of people that don't like him for whatever reason. It proves he got a lot of girlfriends that didn't feel like they got out of the case what they should have got out of the case. I don't see how. I don't see how he gets convicted on freak-off footage, freak-off details, and freak-off testimony. Now, I'm going to say this. The verdict and the sentence. And the sentence is going to be more important than the verdict, I believe, Art. But the verdict and the sentence in the Diddy case is going to reveal one thing. What the elites feel about Puff and how important he may still be to the entertainment power structure. If he gets convicted and they throw the book at him, that's the elite saying, we're completely done with you and we need you to go away. If he gets a slap on the wrist, and I'm going to define slap on the wrist, Art, for me, as any sentence of 10 years down to acquittal. If Puffy gets a sentence of 10 years down to acquittal, I will see that as a victory. And the reason I will see that as a victory, Art, and a sign from the elites that we can still use you, is the sex trafficking case is a minimum of 15 years to life, Art. He can get 15 years to life on the sex trafficking. On the RICO, I don't know what the minimum is, but he can get up to life on the RICO. So the sex trafficking, he can get life, up to life. On the RICO, he can get up to life. On the prostitution charge, he can get 10 years per charge, per count, 10 years per count, and those will run concurrently. As I told you before in our first conversation, I think the only thing they could get him on is the prostitution. I think the only thing they could get him on is the prostitution. So if they get him on the prostitution, Art, no matter how many counts they getting with, let's say they're getting with 5 counts of prostitution. They run concurrently. That's 10 years. You don't have to do all your time in the feds. You do not have to do all your time in the feds. He's home in 5 years. I think that's a victory for Puff.
For
what he was facing, life for Rico, life for sex trafficking, and you walk out with a couple counts of prostitution that carry 10 years of pop, I think that's a victory for Puff. And in my opinion, that's all I can see them hitting them with. That's the good news. The bad news, Art, the bad news is I'm looking at this jury that he has. Puffy had 4 whites, 5 blacks, 2 Hispanics, and an Asian. One of the blacks got dismissed and the judge brought on another white privileged male. So now, if I'm correct, there's 5 whites, 4 blacks, 2 Hispanics and an Asian. 12 people on the jury, they must come up with a unanimous decision. We know, Art, no disrespect to the Mexican people, no disrespect to the Asian people, but when it comes to black people, they ride with white people against us 99% of the time. So those 2 Hispanics, count them as white for purposes of Puffy's case. That 1 Asian, count that person as white for the sake of addition for Puffy's case. So basically you got 8 whites and 4 blacks. That's the part I don't like, Art. That's the part that I don't like. You got 8 whites, 4 blacks. 5 of the jurors, Art, are above the age of 60, I believe. 5 of them are either above the age of 50 or the age of 60. I think above the age of 60. Only 3 of them are under 40. And most of them are male, which means most of them are white male. I'm concerned because I can see those white men being jealous of Puff. I mean, the man is basically a billionaire living life how he wants. Do they really want to let him out? Not for the sake of community security, but who is this Nick to have done better in life than me and I'm older than him? There's a scientist, somebody with a PhD on that jury. I just don't see the white men in this case looking favorably at Puff for reasons that don't even have anything to do with the charges. We are in America. Them 2 Hispanics, I don't see them helping Puff. The Asian, I damn sure don't see them helping Puff. So my best hope, short of the music industry putting a call into the jury, because you know they do that, they'll contact enough of them jurors, Art, and say, listen, we got a bag for you. This is what you need to do. And if you don't do it, we got a body bag for you. Which one you want, the bag of money or the body bag? So short of that happening, Art, I'm going to have to hope that the 4 remaining blacks are strong enough to stand up for our brother so that this case will result in a hung jury and Puffy goes home. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, the sentence, as I've already talked about, that's a whole nother thing if he gets convicted at all. Then the question becomes, what is the judge going to assign? You know, how much time is the judge going to give Puff? You know, if he does get convicted of RICO, and I can't see it, if he does get convicted of sex trafficking, and I can't see it, how much time is the judge going to give him? I'm concerned about that. Prostitution, not as much concerned because 10 years of pop, and you don't have to do your whole time. So I can live with the prostitution. I'm hoping for a hung jury. I'm hoping that them 4 Africans on that jury will stand 10 toes down. Nobody knows who the jury is yet. They kept that completely sealed from us, but I'm hoping them blacks stand 10 toes down and don't let those 5 whites and 3 probationary whites, the 2 Hispanics and the Asian, do our brother in. This is going to come down to them 4 blacks, Art. Bottom line, those 4 Africans on that jury are going to dictate Sean Puffy Combs' destiny?
I gotta ask you, what you think gonna happen, man? What's your prediction?
I can't call it. I can't call it because I'm looking at the fact that the jury is 8 non-Africans. I don't even know how you get that in New York. There's more than enough black people to be on that jury, Art. I don't know how you get 8 whites, non-Africans, 5 whites, 2 Hispanics, and an Asian. I don't even see how that. I don't like that. I'm looking at that, and then I'm looking at the elites in the music industry, Art, because again, let us not forget why Puffy is here. Puffy is here because he sued Diageo Liquor and started a black political party that was going to rival the Democrats and the Republicans. That's why he's in jail. These charges were manufactured to justify his imprisonment. He's been in prison since September 2024. In 2 months, it'll be September 2025. So remember, they denied his bail twice, you know. So he ain't in there for these crimes. He's in there because he challenged white power. The question is Diageo and their American affiliates, are they comfortable with having him humiliated? Do they feel like Sean Combs learned his lesson? He will go back to society, never to challenge white power again? Because let me tell you what he did right, Art. This is what Puff did right. Puffy did not pull a Jeffrey Epstein. What do I mean by that? When Jeffrey Epstein found out he might go to jail for the rest of his life, what did he say? I'm telling on everybody. Jeffrey Epstein said, I'm not going down by myself, and that's why they had him executed and called it a suicide. He didn't take his life, they took his life. Puffy didn't do that. Puffy was a gangster this whole 10 months, Art. Puffy never once said, never once, not through his children, not through his lawyer. Puffy never once said, y'all taking me down for this when everybody do this? Y'all taking me down for this when everybody do this? So guess what I'm going to do? If I get convicted, I'm telling everything that I know. Remember what R. Kelly lawyer said. R. Kelly lawyer said, if Puffy testifies, he will take down half of the music industry. And I would say if Sean Puffy Combs testifies, he would take down half of the entire entertainment industry, music, movies, and everything, because that's how well placed he is, and he's been in this thing too long. R. Kelly lawyer said Puffy will bring down half the music industry if he testifies. That's why he's not getting on that stand, Art. Of course, they don't want to open him up to further scrutiny either. Because remember,
best believe it.
Puffy's defense team, Art, is arguing that the prosecution did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that our client engaged in these 3 crimes. They are confident. They are fairly certain that the prosecution did not do its job. And guess what, Art? I'm fairly certain that the prosecution did not do their job either. I think most of America is fairly certain that the prosecution did not do their job. And the fact that Puffy refused to expose anybody, the fact that he sat there quiet like a G and didn't snitch on nobody else, unlike Jeffrey Epstein, I think Puff might walk or get a slap on the arm because he didn't expose nobody, Art. Puff didn't expose nobody, and he said, I'm not taking a stand. So he letting the music elites, he's letting the Illuminati know, even though I'm going through this, even though y'all doing me wrong, I'm not no snitch. That's gangster, Art. That's gangster. So if he still go down hard with a heavy sentence, if he gets convicted of all 3 charges, especially that RICO and that prostitution, and he get hit with a heavy sentence, then that's Diageo, and that's the music's elite saying, you know what, you too sloppy. You bringing too much attention to the rest of us. We can't have it. You too sloppy. We got to cancel you. So I believe the verdict is going to tell us who Puffy still is or is not to the music industry elites, in the sentence even more so if he's not acquitted, that's going to tell us directly what his future is with the music establishment. Has Puffy been canceled by the music industry elite? This case is going to tell us that. And I'm going to tell you this, Art. Don't be surprised if we found out later that the government and the music industry elites deliberately told the prosecution to hold off on their evidence. There's a chance, Art, that they had way more evidence than what we saw. But when they found out that Puffy wasn't going to expose them, they might have said, hold on. He taking this like a G. He ain't said nothing to nobody yet. And they may reward him. They could have already rewarded him by telling the prosecution, you're not going to bring this up. You're not going to bring this up. This evidence will not be entered. This evidence will be lost. This evidence will be destroyed. We don't know, Art, but Puffy could have already been saved by the power structure, and we don't even know it yet. Because for what they presented as evidence, that was 28 days of nonsense. That was a complete waste of taxpayer money.
Spitting facts.
Complete waste.
Umar spitting facts.
Now, if we flip back, Art, to R. Kelly, you know what I believe? I believe both of R. Kelly's convictions, were engineered by the music industry. Because there's people out there, Art, who are saying R. Kelly should have never been given 30 years for the child sex trafficking charge based on the evidence they had. He didn't have to get 30. Some people say R. Kelly should have got no more than 10 to 15. How the hell did he get 30? The child pornography, 20. They understand that. But the 30 on sex trafficking for the evidence that they had on R. Kelly, a lot of people saying that was the music industry. The music industry knew what R. Kelly was doing. They knew it. They know what everybody's doing because they got their own secret FBI, their own secret, surveillance and investigation. They knew what R. Kelly was doing, and they simply kept a record of it in case they ever needed to use it against him. And when he started fighting them back for his money and his masters, they decided to roll out the evidence. In other words, R. Kelly and Puff case are in reverse. R. Kelly got convicted because he would not play ball. Puffy might walk or get a slap on the hand because he is playing ball. I hope he go free. I hope he beat his case. I hope Tyler Perry beat his case. I hope Smokey beat his. I hope Shannon Sharp beat his. Everybody being brought up on these cases. Fat Joe, if he's innocent of the child sex trafficking, I hope he beat his case. But if Terrence is telling the truth about the role he played in Fat Joe's success, I think he is entitled to some sort of remuneration. I believe he's entitled to some form of cooperation. I want justice for everybody across the board, however it comes.
So hypothetically speaking, if he is free, I mean, at this point, his name dirt. So what you think he should do at this point if he is free?
I believe he could pick up where he left off because it's the music industry, Art. See, it's not like he was a preacher. It's not like he was a scholar. It's not like he was a television personality. Like, the music industry has some of the strangest celebrities in it. You know what I mean? Like, you actually do better being a freak. In it, like, they want eccentricities. They want weirdos. They want eccentrics. They like, I don't think Puffy could have been in a better industry for what he's being charged with. And you know what? This is going to sound crazy, Art. But people are so freaked out today in America. Every color, every race, every culture. They so freaked out that I think Puffy would have more people trying to come to his freak off just to experience a freak off. I'm telling you, I don't think he misses a beat. See, Shannon Sharp is a little different because Shannon Sharp had a contract with Disney through ESPN, Art. You feel me? That's a little different. You're a mainstream personality on a mainstream talk show owned by a corporation that puts out content friendly to children. and you was dating a 19-year-old OnlyFans model, that's a whole lot different than being a musician. It's not going to hurt Shannon Sharp in the podcast industry. Shannon good with podcasts. They can't touch him. Shannon going to eat for the rest of it. Shannon is good. It's just his reputation. And you know, celebrities like access to white space. So there's certain invitations Shannon may not get no more because of the accusation. There's certain invitations Tyler Perry and Smokey Robinson may not get no more. That Fat Joe may not get no more because of the accusations, right? But Puffy,
Yeah,
he still got money.
That's because somebody accused of it.
He's still
Like
one of the
the
kings of
court
New York.
of public opinion. They
He
already
still got
convicted you.
connections. And legally, he can still have his freak offs. I'm going to be honest with you, Art. He only been away for a year. I'm going to tell you who got the word more than Puff. No disrespect to nobody. But all the folks, and I'm not saying they wrong, because I don't know the story, I wasn't there. But all the folks all up in the media, all through the news, who was banking on Puff going down, if that man walk the way y'all did his name, wow. Wow. To me, they got more to worry about than Puff. And I don't mean violence or nothing like that. And I don't think Puff will move like that because he gonna have a spotlight on him for the rest of his life. Now, from that perspective, Art, Puff is gonna have to undergo a serious lifestyle change. Because if you end up back there again, you're done. If he end up back there again, Art, he's done.
Yeah.
So Puffy, and he's had a lot of time to think about this, and this is where his incarceration could have had a benefit. I don't think he ever should have been arrested. I think he should have got his bail. But this is where, when you're forced to sit down, Art, and I was never incarcerated before, right? I did go to a residential high school. That's not incarceration, but it is time away from home, right? Surrounded by all white folks except your peers. You get a lot of time to process your life, man. And Puffy had time to detox. He had time to overcome his sexual addiction. You feel me? Like Puffy had time to purge himself of his lust these 10 months, Art. So if I'm Puff, I'm going to come out. I'm going to get some serious therapy because I think he got some unresolved issues from childhood. I believe that Puffy's dependence on these freak-offs to distract him from his pain grew out of some unresolved traumas. I absolutely believe that. If he want to talk to me as a life coach, I'm here. If he want to get a therapist in New York City, Puffy needs a therapist to help guide him through for the next few years, Art, until he reinvents himself. He could still be Puff, but he can't still be Diddy. You feel me? He could still be Puff, but he can't still be Diddy. So the toughest thing for him if he walks, Art, is reinventing himself. But after 10 years and seeing what his children had to go through, and I know he loves his kids. He's a damn good father, man. Damn good father. I think that might have got to him, Art. And I think Puffy is like, you know what? I'm going to come out here and get my revenge the right way. I'm going to find me a queen or two or three or four. Hopefully they black women. Okay? And I'm going to sit my ass down. If I need a freak off, it's going to be with my 4 wives. You know, my 4 community queens, whatever it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm just hoping he learned his lesson because Puffy got a lot to give, man. He got a lot to give, and he care about his people, Art. He the only billionaire I know who talk about taking up for black people on a regular basis. Now,
Billionaire.
I appreciated Tyler Perry
billionaire?
saying he's made more black millionaires than all the other Hollywood studios combined. I appreciate that, but that ain't the same as starting a black political party. You know what I mean? That ain't the same. Like Puffy is the most conscious of all the billionaires. And so he got a lot to give, man. So I'm expecting nothing but good things from the brother, to be honest, man, because if he come out doing the same Art,
Yeah, he going right back, and it's gonna be bad.
he'll be canceled.
Yeah.
He'll be canceled. And the feds will get him again. They'll get him again. You know what I mean? So if he walks, man, I think he's going to do right this time, bro. I think Puff going to come. Puff might come out and build a Black Wall Street or something, bro. You know what I mean? Because if he do that, he cleans his image up, Art. Because guess what? No children was involved. Did you hear anything about underage kids? I don't think I did.
Nope, not at all.
No underage kids. He ain't got no underage kid thing on him. It was all adults, and from what most of us saw, we would argue consenting. So I think Puff good. I think Puff good. Again, how does the music industry want to play this? That's what it comes down to. How does the government want to play this? Is Diageo done humiliating Puff?